Welcome, horror fans, to another spine-chilling episode of Scripted by Machines, where your darkest nightmares come to life through the power of AI. Today, we bring you a viewer-recommended battle that promises to be a clash of titanic terror. First up, we have the master of nightmares himself, Freddy Krueger. Freddy is a supernatural entity who haunts the dreams of his victims, turning their worst fears into deadly reality. With his iconic bladed glove and the ability to manipulate your nightmares, Freddy is a relentless and sadistic force. On the other side, we have the vengeful spirit known as Candyman. Born from the horrific injustice of his brutal death, Candyman commands supernatural strength, control over bees, and the power to instill terror with just his name. Summoned by speaking his name 5 times in a mirror, Candyman is a legend that thrives on fear and revenge. Two titans of terror, only one will emerge victorious. Stay tuned to find out. The showdown begins now. Our story starts in a dimly lit basement in Springwood. The room is cluttered with old furniture, dusty books, and an eerie silence that hangs heavy in the air. A group of friends, curious and adventurous, gathers around a dusty old mirror. The friends huddled around the mirror, their faces illuminated by the flickering candlelight. Mark, holding a flashlight, grinned mischievously.
Alright, who's up for a little game of summoning the Candyman?
Lisa rolled her eyes but stayed close.
This is just a silly legend. There's no such thing as the Candyman.
Jake laughed, nudging Emily.
Come on, don't be scared. It's just a bit of fun.
Emily remained silent, her eyes fixed on the mirror, a feeling of unease settling in her stomach. Mark placed the mirror on a rickety old table and lit the candles around it. The room seemed to grow colder as they all joined hands.
Alright, here we go.
In unison, they chanted,
Candyman, 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 Candyman.
For a moment, nothing happened. The friends exchanged nervous glances, expecting something dramatic. But the room remained silent, and the mirror reflected only their anxious faces.
See? I told you it was just a legend.
Lisa said, releasing a breath she didn't realize she was holding.
Yeah, let's get out of here.
Jake added, looking slightly disappointed. The friends left the basement, laughing off the experience and heading to their respective homes. They thought it was over, just another spooky tale to tell. But that night, as Jake lay in bed, sleep came swiftly. And with it, a nightmare. Jake found himself in a dark, decrepit boiler room, the air thick with smoke and the clanking of metal. He looked around, confused and disoriented.
Where am I?
He muttered, taking a few cautious steps forward. Suddenly, a chilling laughter echoed through the room. Jake spun around, his heart pounding in his chest. Out of the shadows stepped a figure, horribly scarred, wearing a tattered red and green sweater and a battered brown fedora.
Welcome to my world, Jake.
Jake's eyes widened in terror. He turned to run, but the floor beneath him seemed to stretch endlessly. Freddy's laughter grew louder, closer.
You can't hide from me.
Freddy taunted, his glove with razor-sharp blades glinting in the dim light. Jake tripped and fell, scrambling to get up. Freddy loomed over him, ready to strike.
Sweet dreams.
But just as Freddy was about to deliver the fatal blow, Jake's body convulsed and vanished from the dream world. Freddy's eyes narrowed in confusion and rage.
What the hell?
Freddy growled, his frustration palpable. Jake's scream echoed in the waking world as he was violently pulled from his bed, his body slamming against the wall. Standing over him, his hook gleaming menacingly, was Candyman.
You dared to summon me, and now you shall pay the price.
Jake's scream was cut short as Candyman's hook found its mark, blood splattering across the room. The life drained from Jake's eyes, and he slumped to the floor, lifeless. Back in the dream world, Freddy paced angrily, his rage boiling over. No one had ever stolen a kill from him, especially not in his own domain.
This is my territory. No one takes what's mine.
Freddy slashed at the walls, his blades leaving deep gouges. His mind was made up. He would find this Candyman and make him pay for the insult. The decrepit streets of Springwood are eerily quiet, bathed in the dim light of a crescent moon. The recent death of Jake, a victim torn from his nightmare by Candyman, has left a palpable sense of dread in the town. Unbeknownst to its residents, a storm of malevolent forces is brewing. In the twisted confines of the dream world, Freddy Krueger paces angrily. His realm, a labyrinth of boilers and chains, warps with his frustration. The stolen kill left him seething.
That oak-ended freak thinks he can take what's mine.
Freddy snarled, slashing his blades through the air.
He's got another thing coming.
Freddy focused his energy, the dreamscape darkening as he tapped into the fears of those who had summoned Candyman. He would find his adversary and make him pay. Determined to locate Candyman, Freddy delves into the nightmares of the remaining members of the group who had summoned Candyman. His malevolent grin widens as he prepares to unleash their deepest fears. Lisa found herself in an endless library, the walls lined with books that whispered and muttered in a haunting chorus. The once comforting place now felt suffocating and oppressive. The shadows seemed to move, reaching out to her with skeletal hands.
Hello, please, help me.
A voice called from behind the shelves. Lisa turned to see a figure standing in the shadows, its face obscured.
Who are you?
Lisa asked, her voice trembling. The figure stepped forward, revealing itself as Freddy Krueger.
I'm your worst nightmare.
Freddy's bladed glove slashed through the air, books exploding into flames around him. Lisa tried to run, but the floor beneath her turned into quicksand, dragging her down. Freddy leaned over her, his grin widening.
Tell me where I can find Candyman.
Lisa cried, her voice filled with terror.
We just summoned him. I don't know where he is.
Freddy's eyes narrowed.
Wrong answer.
Lisa's eyes widened in terror as Freddy transformed into a horrifying cloud of oversized, ravenous, flesh-eating insects. Without hesitation, the insects swarmed Lisa, her screams overpowered by the grotesque sound of rattling and hissing. Meanwhile, Mark, laying in his bed, stirs in his sleep. Mark found himself on a deserted football field, the stands filled with faceless spectators. The sky darkened, and a chilling wind swept across the field. He heard the sound of metal scraping and turned to see Freddy standing at the 50-yard line, grinning maliciously.
Ready for the big game.
Freddy taunted, his blades glinting in the dim light. Mark backed away, his heart pounding.
Back off, stay away.
Freddy laughed, the sound echoing through the empty stadium.
Not until you tell me where Candyman is.
The ground beneath Mark's feet split open, revealing a pit filled with writhing, grasping hands. Mark struggled to keep his balance, his fear escalating.
We just called him forth, that's all.
Mark shouted, desperation in his voice. Freddy's grin faded, replaced by a look of cold fury.
Then you're no use to me.
The writhing hands grip Mark's legs with bone-shattering force. He lets out a howl of pain as he is pulled into the pit. Emily found herself in a dark forest, the trees twisted and gnarled. The air was thick with fog, and the only sound was the rustling of leaves. She walked cautiously, her senses on high alert. Suddenly, the fog parted, revealing Freddy Krueger standing before her.
Lost in the woods, little girl.
Emily tried to run, but the trees closed in around her, their branches like claws. Freddy advanced, his laughter filling the air.
Tell me where I can find Candyman, and I might let you live.
Emily shook her head, tears streaming down her face.
I don't know, we just said his name 5 times in a mirror. We just wanted to see if the legend was true.
Freddy's eyes burned with rage.
Then you brought this on yourself.
Emily turned and ran, her heart pounding in her chest. The fog thickened, and the twisted trees seemed to close in around her, their branches grasping at her like skeletal fingers. Freddy's laughter echoed through the forest, sending chills down her spine.
Run all you want, Emily. You can't escape me.
Freddy's voice taunted from all directions. Emily's breath came in ragged gasps as she stumbled through the dark forest. She glanced over her shoulder, unable to see Freddy but feeling his presence closing in. Suddenly, Emily crashed into someone. She let out a startled scream but then saw Jake standing before her. Relief washed over her, though confusion quickly followed.
Jake, what are you doing here?
Emily gasped, clutching his arm. Jake's eyes were wide with fear.
No time to explain. We need to get out of here.
Emily, still shaken, nodded and followed Jake as they ran through the dark, twisted woods. Freddy's laughter echoed around them, and Emily's fear only intensified. She clung to Jake, trusting him to lead her to safety. They burst through the trees and came to a sudden halt at the edge of a cliff. The drop was dizzying, and Emily's heart sank as she looked down into the abyss. The ground seemed to fall away into nothingness. Jake turned to Emily, his expression urgent.
Okay, Time to jump.
Emily's eyes widened in horror.
Jump? Are you insane? We'll die.
Blood starts pooling in Jake's chest, dripping from his shirt. His expression darkened, a sinister smile creeping onto his face.
Well, you killed me, so it's only fair, baby.
Emily's breath caught in her throat, and she took a step back.
Jake, I didn't kill you. I swear I didn't.
Tears streamed down her face as she pleaded with him. But as she watched, Jake's features twisted and morphed, revealing Freddy Krueger standing in his place, his grin wide and menacing. Freddy let out a maniacal laugh, his voice echoing through the nightmare.
Time to fly, bitch.
Before she could react, Freddy's bladed glove shot out, slicing through the air and sending Emily tumbling backward off the cliff. She screamed as she fell, the dark forest and Freddy's laughter fading into a void of darkness. Freddy emerged from the nightmares.
Useless, all of them.
Freddy muttered, his frustration boiling over.
I'll have to draw him out myself.
Freddy manipulates the dreamscape, transforming it into a vast, decrepit urban setting reminiscent of Cabrini Green. He conjures a mirror in the heart of this nightmare, its surface dark and foreboding. Freddy steps up to the mirror, his reflection twisted and malevolent.
Candyman, 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 Candyman.
The mirror's surface ripples, and a chilling presence fills the air. The temperature drops, and the sound of buzzing bees echoes around Freddy. The reflection of Freddy in the mirror is replaced by that of Candyman, his hook gleaming menacingly. Candyman steps through the mirror, his eyes locked onto Freddy.
You dare to summon me, Dream Demon?
Freddy grins, his confidence returning.
Welcome to my nightmare, Candyman. Let's see how your legend fares here.
Candyman's expression remains stern and unyielding.
You have crossed a line, Krueger. Prepare to face the consequences.
Freddy lunged at Candyman, his bladed glove slashing through the air. Candyman blocked with his hook, the clash of metal reverberating through the dreamscape. Freddy's agility allowed him to dodge and weave, his form shifting and morphing to evade Candyman's strikes.
Is that all you've got?
Freddy taunted, disappearing and reappearing behind Candyman. Candyman turned, his eyes glowing with determination.
Your parlor tricks do not impress me.
Freddy cackled, conjuring a swarm of skeletal hands from the ground to grab Candyman. But Candyman's hook slashed through them effortlessly, and he summoned a swarm of bees to counter Freddy's attack. The bees engulfed Freddy, stinging him relentlessly. Freddy roared in pain, his form engulfing in flames to rid the bees.
You'll pay for that.
Candyman pressed his advantage, using his supernatural strength to hurl Freddy across the dreamscape. Freddy crashed into a wall, but he quickly recovered, his body twisting unnaturally as he stood.
You think you're tough? I've got nightmares that would make you weep.
Freddy sneered, his voice filled with malevolence. Candyman's hook gleamed as he advanced.
I am pain and suffering incarnate. Your nightmares pale in comparison to the horror I embody.
Freddy summoned a series of blades from the walls, launching them at Candyman. But Candyman's bees formed a protective barrier, deflecting the blades. He closed the distance, his hook striking with deadly precision. Freddy barely dodged, his grin faltering. Freddy warped the dreamscape, transforming it into a twisted carnival. The ground shifted beneath Candyman's feet, but he stood firm. Freddy's laughter echoed from all directions, and grotesque clowns and carnival rides sprang to life, attacking Candyman.
Let's see how you humble a funhouse.
Candyman remained calm, his hook slicing through the clowns effortlessly.
Your illusions are nothing but distractions.
Freddy appeared behind Candyman, his blades aiming for his back. But Candyman anticipated the move, spinning and catching Freddy's arm with his hook. With a powerful yank, he sent Freddy sprawling. Candyman raised his hook, bees buzzing angrily around him.
You dare to challenge a legend?
Freddy snarled, his body contorting as he stood.
I'm not done yet.
Freddy summoned a massive, flaming serpent from the ground, directing it at Candyman. The serpent lunged, but Candyman's bees swarmed it, extinguishing the flames and tearing it apart. Candyman advanced, his presence a force of unyielding vengeance. Candyman's momentum seemed unstoppable. His hook slashed through Freddy's illusions, and his bees created a relentless barrier that protected him from Freddy's attacks. Freddy, sensing his impending defeat, stumbled backward, his confidence waning. Candyman raised his hook for the final strike.
Your reign of terror ends now, Krueger.
Freddy's eyes widened, but then, a sinister smile crept across his face. He began to laugh, a chilling, maniacal sound that echoed through the collapsing dreamscape. Candyman hesitated, momentarily thrown by Freddy's laughter.
What is so funny, Krueger?
Freddy's laughter grew louder.
You really think you can defeat me in my own domain?
Suddenly, the swarm of bees surrounding Candyman began to shimmer and change. Their buzzing turned into a softer fluttering sound as they transformed into delicate butterflies. Candyman's eyes widened in shock as the once formidable swarm became harmless. Before he could react, Candyman's hook started to morph. The metal twisted and expanded, becoming a brightly colored balloon tied to a string. Candyman stared at the absurd transformation, his weapon now useless. Freddy took advantage of Candyman's stunned state.
In my world, reality is what I make of it.
Freddy lunged at Candyman, his bladed glove slashing through the air. Candyman tried to defend himself, but the balloon offered no protection and his barrier of bees was no more. Freddy's blades cut deep into Candyman's chest, sending him staggering backward.
You thought you could beat me with bees and a hook?
Freddy mocked, his confidence fully shown.
You're in my nightmare now.
Candyman tried to summon his strength, but the dreamscape had turned against him. The butterflies fluttered harmlessly around him, and the balloon bobbed mockingly at his side. Freddy's control over the dream world was absolute. Freddy continued his assault, his attacks relentless.
Legends are just stories. Nightmares are real.
Candyman, weakened and disarmed, struggled to fight back. Freddy's blades cut through him again and again, each strike weakening the legendary figure. Freddy snaps his fingers, and the dreamscape shifts again. The twisted carnival transforms into a macabre version of a circus tent, with grotesque faces painted on the walls and a blood-red spotlight illuminating Candyman.
You like bees, don't you?
Freddy sneers, a malicious grin spreading across his face. Freddy conjures a gigantic, monstrous beehive hanging from the ceiling of the tent. The hive pulses with a sickly glow, and the sound of buzzing fills the air. But instead of bees, the hive releases a torrent of flesh-eating wasps, nightmarish creatures with deadly stingers and razor-sharp mandibles. The swarm engulfs Candyman, tearing at his flesh with relentless ferocity. Candyman tries to summon his strength, but the sheer number of insects overwhelms him. Freddy watches with gleeful satisfaction, his laughter echoing through the tent.
Time to say goodbye, Candyman.
Freddy shouts over the cacophony. Freddy raises his glove, and with a final, triumphant gesture, he commands the swarm to converge on Candyman's chest. The insects burrow into Candyman, ripping him apart from the inside. Candyman's body convulses, his eyes dimming as his strength fades. Freddy steps closer, his face inches from Candyman's.
In my world, legends die.
With a final, agonized scream, Candyman's body disintegrates into a swarm of dead bees that quickly dissipate into the air. Freddy stands victorious, the master of nightmares, his reign of terror unchallenged once more. In the waking world, the residents of Springwood felt a new wave of dread. Freddy Krueger's presence in their dreams had grown stronger, his power amplified by his victory over Candyman. The legend of Candyman faded, replaced by the enduring nightmare that was Freddy Krueger. Freddy reveled in his victory, his laughter echoing through the dreamscapes of his victims. But he knew that one day, another challenger would rise. Until then, he would remain the master of nightmares, the king of fear. But why did the AI choose Freddy as the victor? The AI was tasked with determining the likely victor between Freddy Krueger and Candyman in various scenarios. The decision was based on a comprehensive analysis of both characters' strengths, weaknesses, and realms of influence. Dream World Battles, the AI concluded that Freddy Krueger would win 95% of the battles that took place in the Dream World. Freddy's absolute control over the dreamscape and his ability to manipulate reality within dreams make him an unbeatable force in this domain. Candyman, despite his formidable presence, would be at a severe disadvantage and unable to match Freddy's power in the dream world. Real-world battles, in the waking world, Candyman would win 75% of the battles. His physical strength, supernatural abilities, and control over bees make him a dominant force in direct confrontations. Freddy, when pulled into the real world, loses much of his power and becomes vulnerable. However, Freddy's cunning and resourcefulness mean he still has a chance to prevail, especially if he can leverage his knowledge of fear and deception. The AI determined that Candyman would win 75% of encounters in the real world, whereas Freddy would win 95% of encounters in the dream world. The AI determined that while Candyman could dominate in the real world, Freddy Krueger's mastery of the dream world gives him a decisive edge in their overall confrontation. Freddy's ability to pull Candyman into his domain, where he is nearly invincible, ensures that Freddy would win the majority of encounters across both realms. Freddy's unparalleled control over nightmares makes him the ultimate victor in this clash of horror titans. Freddy Krueger's victory in this story exemplifies the AI's conclusion. In the dream world, where Freddy is the master of nightmares, even a legend as powerful as Candyman stands little chance. This battle highlights Freddy's dominance in his realm and cements his status as the ultimate nightmare. Thank you for watching another bone-chilling episode of Scripted by Machines. We hope you enjoyed today's battle between Freddy Krueger and Candyman. Don't forget to comment below and let us know what battles you'd like to see next. Your suggestion might just be the next epic showdown featured on Scripted by Machines. Thank you for joining us. Until next time, keep imagining. And sleep tight, if you dare.
In a small town, there's a tale to tell of a nightmare man who knows you well. Freddy's claws and his haunting grin. In your dreams, he'll pull you in. Candyman's good, a voice so sweet. In the mirror, you're bound to meet with bees that buzz and stories told. His vengeance burns, a tale of old. Oh, Freddy Krueger in the night, Candyman shadow in the light. They haunt the streets and every lane, two legends born from fear and pain. Oh, don't you say his name, or play Freddy's deadly game. In dreams and shadows they reside, two souls that never die. By Elm Street's gates and Cabrini's walls, their whispers echo through the halls. A claw, a hook, a chill inside, they come to play in the dead of night. A child's laughter turns to scream as Freddy stalks their twisted dreams. Candyman's voice, a whisper clear, say my name and I'll appear. Oh, Freddy Krueger in the night, Candyman shadow in the light. They haunt the streets and every lane, two legends born from fear and pain. In a realm where nightmares reign, Freddy and Candyman entwined in pain. Two forces dark they do unite, bringing terror in the night. So heed the tales and lock your door, for they are coming evermore. Freddy's laughter, Candyman's call. In your dreams, they'll find you all. In every dream and mirror's glare, they linger on, they're always there. Freddy and Candyman, chilling sight, two tales of terror every night. Oh, Freddy Krueger in the night, Candyman shadow in the light. They haunt the streets and every lane, two legends born from fear and pain. So remember well these names of dread, or else you'll face the nights you dread. Freddy and Candyman, frightful pair. In dreams and shadows, they'll always be there. Children, close your eyes. Freddy's coming, hear the cries. In your dreams he loves to play. With his claws he'll chase you away. Count the sheep and drift away.